It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's a brand new time slot, but the same old red hot, sizzling, spicy, succulent, tender, moist, finger-licking good content. It's the Andy and Rem Show, episode 192. We slowly creep up on the 200th episode. Got a roadmap to look at. And for anyone who's been playing the Remington's Blinds game, you're going to be a little bit disappointed when I reveal that, in fact, there are no blinds visible at all. So Remington's cruel mind games with our audience continue. Anything you've got to say for yourself?
Sorry about that. I had changed the room round, so all the interesting stuff is around the side. So when I was setting the room up, I didn't really think about what it would be like for you guys. So I did put some backgrounds on my video, but Andy didn't approve.
Live Streaming 101 put all the interesting stuff behind the camera.
Yeah, but then I won't see it, will I? When I'm at the computer.
True. What's more important, your entertainment or the audience's?
I guess.
Exactly. So, it's a packed house in the chat tonight already. Who have we got in there? We've got the likes of Colin Mack, we've got Major Threat Miniature, Thomas Hartman, and, of course, the A-list wargaming entrepreneur for Annie, Bad Squiddo Games in there as well. Good evening, everyone that's come along to this brand new time slot. Potentially permanent time slot, assuming it actually watches at the time.
Yeah,
But
I've got no dog. I've got no dog on a Monday, and it's nice and chill, so I'm quite excited. But you know, Andy, I've been really out of touch. I've not painted any miniatures for like what feels like weeks, and I've just been focusing on music and work. And I look over at my cabinet over there, which I'll show you very briefly there. Maybe the audience can see that cabinet, maybe?
very
Yes,
exciting,
no?
yep.
Full of miniatures, like armies, and two more armies that won't fit in there. And when I look at that, I'm like, do I really need any more miniatures? But I mean, so it's kind of, maybe I should just clear the shelves, if you know what I mean, so I can refill them. I don't know. I'm at that stage where it's like, how much is too much? And when's too much enough?
No such thing as too much. In fact, I've been unloading some of my miniatures to Abode and got all my Stormcast in one drawer, apart from the big stuff, which doesn't fit in there, which is the Stardrake, would get his head chopped off inside a drawer. So that hasn't been prominent yet. But I have been putting shelves up. You could say I'm like the most manly man there is. Putting shelves on a wall with power tools. How does that sound? Sounds pretty manly, doesn't it, everybody? Let's go with that.
Just fixing my
yes,
video.
Remington invisible again.
Yeah.
That's what we like to see on this show.
I'll be back.
There we go.
So, Andy, you've had some adjustments to make, which we discussed last time. Have you settled in okay with your new job and your new gaff?
Yes. It's pretty much settled in now. The only thing that I'm adjusting to at the moment is making time for my painting after or before work. I don't start that early. Finish reasonably late, but I don't really have much of a commute. So I have to find that sweet spot for doing a bit of painting today. And once I get into the groove, then those paint juices will start flowing again, I think.
I see. So look, I'm seeing 4 pictures there, and would I be right in guessing they are 4 new battle tomes?
Well, you would be right in guessing that. We'll let people stew on that for a second, because we've had a question from Bad Squiddo Games that says, Rem, can you name the band yet?
I'd love to. I really want to. I think I can. Can we keep it a secret?
I don't think we can keep it a secret because it's widely available on the internet.
Oh.
So if you reveal it, you have to expect the entire world to hear it. Are you prepared for that yet?
But it might be like the Bitcoin situation where it appeared on my phone that I was a multi-billionaire, and then, maybe because I just said it out loud or whatever, it wasn't true.
So you're worried that you'll jinx your participation in this international superstar band by naming it?
I have wanted to be a big part of it for 15 years, so it might be. I mean, I can tell you that the first letter begins with F, and there's 3 words in the band name.
Are you going to give us more clues each week? How does that sound?
Yes, I like that. I can do that.
Either that, or
this point,
we'll do it like a Wordle, where people have to guess, and you tell them how many letters they've got correct.
well, I was asked to join this band because the lead singer / guitarist left. So I said no, and then they kept asking me. So then I went, okay, well, might as well give it a go. And they recorded a promotional video, which I had to practice quite hard for to learn songs and obviously play them well. And then they've used the video to send to the agent, and the agents received the video, and they're like, wow, this sounds amazing. So the next thing is loads of gigs. And at this point, I've been told that if there's gigs, I've got them. So does that mean I'm in the band?
It sounds like it to me. Unless you have your
It's not
first
right,
performance
it's
and
bloody-
it's so critically panned that they immediately like shred the contract to say, "What? Who are you? Never seen you before," and shuffle you out the door.
We've had some good guesses in the chat, Andy. Major Threat Miniatures says, Fred said right. You're showing your age there, my friend, aren't you? And then Bad Squiddo's game says, Fred Wright said. It's supposed to be right said, Fred. Major Threat Miniatures says, flying porn crumpets. Raphael says, Foo Fight Rems. Bad Squiddo, the Fleetwood Macs. None of you are right, but keep trying.
Keep trying.
It might be one of those where, like, I tell everyone, and it's like, yeah, great. So what? You know what I mean? So, but for me, it's a big deal. You know?
I think because I may have some inside knowledge, I think there will be a proportion of the audience that will find it a very big deal.
Do you think it will be as big a deal as Superman liking Warhammer? You know,
That's a
maybe not
tough
that big
one.
a deal, but it would be like they would say, like, what's his name from The Witcher and Superman?
Cavill.
What's his? Yeah, Tony Cavill.
Henry
Cavill, not Cavill. Andy. Would it be like, yeah, Warhammer's cool, and Remington Steele are both sort of infamous things? Could that be a thing?
Well, if you could get some kind of collaboration going, it would do the ratings of this show no harm. That much.
What do you mean? Like, do you think I could be on a Games Workshop podcast or something?
Either that, or if you manage to use your celebrity crossover appeal,
yeah,
like A-list guests on this show. Since it's been me lining up all the guests over the years, apart from maybe 2 of them, which I think you're doing. And I think if you could get some A-list Hollywood or music industry icons onto this show to talk about wargaming, I think you definitely earned your spot.
It'd be pretty cool. But the thing is, this band that I'm joining is just like known as the coolest band. That's the thing. It's like it's not like, yeah, it's just another like metal band. It's a band that is considered like ultra cool. So it's like this is like historically considered as uncool, which therefore makes it kind of cool in my book.
So you think you're going to tarnish the
Because-
band's reputation with your interest in miniature wargaming? Is that what you're saying?
Put it this way: the drummer said he had a mate that did wargaming, and then he like ended up being some kind of mass murderer.
Oh,
So that's like some people's misguided impression. It's not the bloody Wurzel's major threat. No.
now let's be fair. Only some of us in this industry community murderers. No one who's ever been on this show, hopefully. But it's a very small percentage.
Yeah. Well, I think he was just pulling my leg. He's only joking. But yeah, maybe it could be a cool thing. I'd love that. No, maybe it's something I could actually do for the community that would be real, rather than just like $1 million ideas. It would be something real, wouldn't it? Right? So I don't know. Annie's straight in there. Free tickets to gigs. Oh, bless. Okay.
Yeah, we all get our backstage passes. All aboard the Remington coattail train, I think.
But yeah, we'll see, right? I mean, I would love it because basically it would mean I could actually spend more time doing Warhammery things, because then I wouldn't have to have a normal job. Well, I'd still have my normal job, but I wouldn't have to do so many days.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Because I mean, there have been celebrities, right? Like Tony Cavill. Tony Cavill is like, it's like 40k, but there's not been any that have like specifically championed fantasy. Do you know what I mean?
Feel free to keep calling him that as well.
Tony Cavill.
Yeah, feel free. I'm sure he'll be horribly insulted and never come on the show purely because you're giving him the wrong name over and over again. Now, we've got a couple of, in fact, just one minor point to touch on. That is that this week, it'll be Annie's birthday. What do you think about that bombshell?
That's a big deal. That is a big deal. Every year is a big deal.
Big deal is a big reveal.
And every year, does it get a bigger deal every year?
I think it
Do
depends.
we have to up it each year?
It depends how old the person is. If it's a particular milestone, then it's certainly a big deal.
I mean, should I send her some more crypto?
Oh no. I'm sure she'd really appreciate it. I keep getting notifications that all my cryptos are dropping in value. Anything you want to say about that?
It's just gone up loads in the past week. So,
well, let's have a quick look then. I'm going to jump onto the app now and have a look.
But you'll probably be roughly where you started from at the moment. Yeah, Annie should be up slightly. Cool.
I'm going on the app right now because I keep getting notifications that it's all down. It doesn't tell me when things go up though.
Could do. I mean, like, I daren't show anyone like Games Workshop share price at the minute. It's absolutely bombed. But the good news is that we'll be getting some dividends from that. That's something. It's funny, when I bought 0.1 Games Workshop shares for about £10, it seemed to skyrocket up for like 6 months. But as soon as I had the money to buy some, actual proper shares, it all went down. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying jinx. You can jinx a thing.
So if you just never talk about things, then they're fine. Is that your motto?
I'll take an ape NFT. I don't know about that.
I can reveal
NFTs, that's a different...
on your initial investment into Andy Industries in the crypto department, I am currently up on the initial investment 43 pence.
That's fantastic.
Which is down from, it was up by like £13 a few weeks ago. So it's dropped a little bit since then.
Now, Andy, let me give you a very brief, because we should be talking about Age of Sigmar stuff, but very brief investment one-on-one. And that is, you don't just, buy something once and then do nothing more. You're supposed to build a position. So when you build it, you put more into the kitty. It's like a piggy bank, right? So if you just put 2p in the piggy bank, it's not really going to do much. So you have to add to it. Except this piggy bank gets bigger over time. I mean, it gets more full. But you should still add to it a little bit when you can. And the time to add to it is when it is down. They're the good times. So you shouldn't want it to go up because you haven't got much in there at the minute. So you should be like, okay, great, it's down. I can average down, and then you keep doing that for a while, and then it goes up loads, and then you might want to just put less in or don't put any more in there,
and then you cash out, and then you sail your yacht all the way around the world.
Well, you cash out, but not for a long time.
This doesn't sound very exciting.
Well, that's how money is actually made. It's not very exciting, but the problem is people think it's like an overnight thing, and it's not, unfortunately. But it is just with certain cryptos. I think, from my limited 2-3 year experience, but that's actually quite a long time in crypto.
Well, now that we can see you again, shall we have a look at these battle tome reveals?
Yeah. Sorry about the rant there. Okay. Handmaiden of the Everqueen, worth 80 quid, says Colin Mack. You see, well, he did put something away and forget about it, so maybe there is something in that, yeah.
Let's dive in here then. So, battle tomes coming. Immediately, obviously, not a surprise to anyone. Deepkin and Fire Slayers, featured in that new box, of course. So, why wouldn't they be getting new battle tomes? So it does shatter the rumour that all the Dwarven forces were going to be combined into one battle tome this year.
It's a shame. I mean, Andy, let me put my 2 pence worth in. You just go up to those. Well, you're on the battle tomes now. The Ardeneth Deepkin have only had one battle tome, so totally understand that needs maybe a rework. This is the Fire Slayer's 3rd tome, and this is the Daughters of Cain 3rd tome. I mean, why? What do they need to adjust so drastically? They haven't really introduced any new models apart from one hero for each of the Fire Slayers and the Daughters of Cain. So
yeah,
are things just so overpowered they felt the need to rewrite all the lore, and I don't get it.
Well, if you think about the dying days of Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition, when a new book came out, it was generally accompanied by how many new units would you? At least 3 or 4, maybe a fairly big-ish model and a couple of new heroes.
Yeah, brand new dynamic to the whole thing as well, right? Do you remember when the Empire had a 8th edition rework, and they had detachments, didn't they, and different types of units, and it was like a whole new thing. But I don't really get it. Is when they put out such a rapid fire of new battle tomes for the same faction, is it sort of admitting that the last one wasn't right?
Well, if you think about the model range as well, are they just too satisfied with what they've been putting out for the last 6, 7 or 8 years that they don't need to replace any of it? Because if you think of, for instance, the Dwarf battle tome came towards the end of 8th edition Fantasy, they replaced the Iron Breakers with plastic ones, they replaced the Hammerers with plastic ones, plastic Longbeards, used Iron Drakes, new plastic Gyrocopter to replace an old weird looking one.
Yep.
So they don't have the range that's built up on the foundations of less than ideal products. They've already got everything in this really ridiculously wonderful plastic that they can just keep churning out.
Well, here we go, Andy. Here's another thing, right? Think about Britannia. They only ever had one battle tome. No, they didn't. They probably had 2. I'm going to say 2. Can anyone verify that?
You did often have to wait quite a while for some of the factions. That is true.
I mean, the Britannia's never never got one beyond like 2004, something like that. I might be wrong in that year, but everyone was sort of waiting and waiting and waiting, and never even came.
Wood
It's just
Elves were
really
waiting a
strange
long
to me.
time as well.
Wood Elves were waiting ever so long, and then when it finally came out, 6 months later, Warhammer 8th Edition was sort of scrapped. So no football chat, no football chat tonight, David. We got absolute slaughtered by Nottingham Forest last night. What an embarrassment! But fair play to the Tricky Trees, man. Fair play. But yeah, Andy, it's what I'm worried about is that proper fans of the lore aren't going to be digging this really, because with no new models, and I mean, the lore has moved on with the other books, isn't it? The ones like Morathi and I can't remember the names. It's been that long.
Yeah,
But I mean, are these updates because the lore has changed or the rules have changed?
it just
Or
seems
there's new
like a
miniatures?
new place to compile all the war scrolls,
FAQs.
extra rules, and I don't see how the fluff have changed that much for all these factions so frequently. You?
Um, Andy, I mean, there's some factions. What other factions have we got? They've only had one book. Gloomspite Gits. How about them? They've only had one book. It is of Sigmar, arguably the most diverse faction, only had one book. Yet these very specific factions with a model range of 8 to 10 different unit types have received 2, 3 books.
An interesting thing to look at the stats for the average number of new units each book that comes out. So for these two, presumably it's just the one hero that comes in that box. If you look at the Stormcast when they get a new book, usually on the heels of 15 new units. So it's like an entire new army every time with Stormcast.
Unless we're wrong, Andy, maybe they're hinting at something that's going to come out in 3-4 months' time, and then there'll be new models that will come that are in the book. We just don't know it yet. I
It
mean,
would be
does it
nice.
say anything in the blurb?
There's so much stuff they could add to these armies, though. They're just choosing not to. I find strange, especially since they're releasing a book. If you want to sell
Well, when
lots
you
of a new
release,
book, you release new units,
yeah.
surely.
Well, and when you release a new book, you're not going to release a new unit for like a year at least, are you? So anyone hoping for new units, I think their hopes dashed.
Yeah, so
But then again,
these are the two new units here. So
on the other hand, Andy, these are completely brand new factions. So maybe they are tweaking the law. They are tweaking the rules for them, because there's been nothing like that for them before, right?
if you think about going back to Dwarves in Warhammer Fantasy again, when a new book came out, you would often see it. If you were to look at the pictures of the battle scenes like this one, you would see some models that were common throughout all the army books. But with each book, there would be multiple new units that had replaced the old models. So you would have like brand new dwarf warriors, same slayers probably, because they didn't them, did they? They were stuck metal forever. But with the Fire Slayers, you're just looking at the same models over and over and over again with one new hero added. It doesn't grapple me, really. I don't find it that exciting. A new book to celebrate the arrival of a single model. Not a fan.
I mean, maybe they've just done loads of new pictures, right? Could that be it? Lots of new pictures of models that have already been released,
Not that exciting.
or new scenarios, maybe. Maybe the battle tome isn't what it used to be anymore.
Well, I think clearly it isn't, because previously it did have a lot more releases to go along with it. Now, the main reason I would have to get the battle tome would be so I could put in the unique code into my app and get access to all the special rules and faction abilities on my phone. That's the main reason I would buy a battle tome.
Fair enough, yeah. But like, let's take Daughters of Cain. I love that picture on the front. I don't think I've seen that picture before. Maybe you guys have, but I think that's pretty awesome. I've played against you with Daughters of Cain a couple of times, and I thought I gave you a good match, didn't I, Andy? Very complicated, a lot of things to remember, but absolutely deadly for the Daughters of Cain.
They're a
And
strong faction.
so, do you think they've been tamed somewhat or enhanced?
Well, we'll find out. There are certain things that are being streamlined across all the books, certain kinds of rules that are being moved away from slowly, although with exception. Things like re-rolling wands all the time.
Which was a big thing in Daughters of Cain, so maybe that's gone.
Maybe that's going to be phased out or just minimized a bit, and they'll have another mechanic instead.
So maybe on a positive side, these new books have come out because there are major reworks. So it might be, quicker to play them, easier to learn the rules for them.
Well, you can look forward to having one new hero on foot, can't you?
So yeah,
it's not particularly exciting me. As a player of other armies, would you be tempted when one of these new books comes out to jump on board the army bandwagon on the back of a single extra model being released? I say that I probably wouldn't. You want to see a new exciting range with each book, don't
you? Yeah, you do. You do.
You could easily do
which
that.
Books would you?
You could do that with.
What would you like to have seen?
With 2 products, you could do it. You have the new hero, and then you just add a new unit box that can be built in 2 ways. That's a really simple way to do it. You've got 3 new units to show off then.
Well, what would you have liked to have seen then? I mean, maybe these releases have been delayed somewhat.
Well, let's have a look. Let's go through all of them. So first of all, Fire Slayers. I've been saying for a while I'd like to see some like mini Magmadroth cavalry. You could build them.
Yeah, of course. But the question is, which factions needed new books or deserved new books? You'd say Idoneth. Okay, they've only had 1. Fire Slayers have had 2, so this is their 3rd book. Daughters of Cain have had 2, so this is their 3rd book. Nighthaunt, this is their 2nd book. Okay, fair enough.
Well, let's justify those new books then. So, Idoneth Deepkin, new unit for the book. What would it be? What kind of fish haven't they done yet?
Jellyfish.
Have they done jellyfish? Were you thinking kind of like a disc of Tzeentch with someone riding on a jellyfish?
No, I didn't actually think about it for very long. I'm going to retract that.
They've got eels, they've got sharks, they've got seahorse type looking, haven't they?
They could have a giant coral sponge spell.
You know, I think they need more of crabs.
Crabs, yeah, absolutely crabs. Lobsters.
Unit of crabs and lobsters. Fire Slayers get the mini Magmadroth cavalry that you can build 2 different ways, with the riders being armed differently. Then we've got...
you've got like the Loch Ness Monster, right? You could have something on that.
Daughters of Cain. New unit that can be built 2 ways. What would you do?
A Serpent Rider. No, that's been done before, hasn't it? A Cobra. No, that's been done before.
Well, we've got the archers with snake bodies. What about elven legs with a snake's upper body and snake's head on it?
No, that would be grotesque.
That's a bit too comical.
What about slaves? So not slaves to darkness, but actual sort of lobotomized, castrated male slaves that would be like cannon fodder. Kind of like zombies, but they're not. They're kind of stripped off male slaves, just whipped around. No?
Or any of them having their like tendons played like a harp?
I don't know. What else could they have? I mean, what? Well, female cavalry, I guess, because you've got the sort of male wraith cavalry. Sort of witches. What would they be riding? They can't be riding snakes because that was the Tombkins thing, wasn't it? Would they be riding? I'm not sure. I have to think about that. Some sort of flying unit for Daughters of Khaim. No, they've got that already.
What about
Yeah, we're
some
kind of
sort
out
of
of ideas.
what about some sort of burrowing, blood-based bit? They like blood, don't they?
Blood-based. What about some kind of siege weapon based on blood?
Or like a blood golem of some kind.
Well, you've got that, haven't you? You've got the statue of Cain.
That's not a blood golem.
Well, it's a golem. It comes to life, doesn't it? It's a statue.
Yeah, but it's
that
not
comes
just
to
made
life.
of blood. It's not just a big puddle of blood that attacks you. See, this is the kind of top-notch ideas that we come up with for free on this show that GW can listen to at any time. And
Okay, what about a bit of scenery, like a sacrificial altar? There you go, sacrificial altar, and then you can heads roll down from it or something.
I would say Daughters of Cain probably in a slightly different position. Faction. Obviously, Dark Elves have been around for a long time, so they've already got a number of units compared to some. So, not as imperative to give them stuff every. Got a decent in them already.
I think Daughters of Cain is almost too specific. They took like a faction from within a larger faction, i.e., Dark Elves, and they've sort of run out of ideas. You know what I mean? It's like the Fire Slayers. They've taken Slayers from Dwarves, and they've kind of so we've got some naked Dwarves running around with axes. Yeah, that's about it, really. And one of them can ride a magma droff thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's showing limitations now, and these books should be showing more diversity. But it's telling me that they've kind of run out of ideas.
What do you think of the Nighthaunt then?
Well, there's loads of potential for those, isn't there? Because you just have spectral, ghostly versions of whatever you want.
Yes, but why don't they do that? All the skeletons and ghosts that they put out, GW, tend to be human shaped, don't they?
Yeah, apart from the sort of ratty ones with the scythes.
Do we have any ghost dragons at the moment?
Not from Games Workshop, but other models could do them.
Yes, other manufacturers certainly do. But GW, why isn't there a ghost giant?
I mean, the thing is, you've got these separate factions, and then they've bundled everything else into Cities of Sigmar, and everything in Cities of Sigmar, you could argue they deserve their own faction. Wood Elves, Wanderers, right? Normal Dwarves, normal humans. You could say, devotees of Disciples of Sigmar, devotees of Sigmar.
Okay, prediction time. Because the next thing on the roadmap, there's a Chaos Battle Tome and an Order Battle Tome. What do we think they're going to
do? Oh, Chaos, I'm not even bothered, but probably going to be Khorne.
Are you hoping for Beastmen, though?
Well, the reason why I say that is because Khorne's like the oldest one already, isn't it? I think it's already had 2 battle tomes. They're probably going to bring out a 3rd for that. Nurgle's just had one. I would love it if it was like a Chaos Marauder one, and it was all like the Marauder tribes of Chaos.
Sounds a bit too interesting. It won't be that.
Right, yeah, well, it's just going to be Khorne then, isn't it?
Why not Beasts of Chaos, though?
Because Beasts of Chaos have always been underserved. Historically, they only had 2 battle tomes for 8th edition. They had a battle tome which was basically the only thing you could go off for like 10 years. And a couple of years before they ended Age of Sigmar, they brought out a new battle tome, and that was pretty good. So yeah, they've only ever had 2 historically, and 1 new Beast of Chaos for Age of Sigmar. So I just don't think it's a popular enough faction.
Well, you make the factions more popular by giving them sweet new models and a nice, cool book.
Ain't gonna happen, mate. Ain't gonna happen.
Sad times we live in.
Well, Russell Higgins says, why the books? If they're sending out quarterly balance documents, why try to work both ends of the balance. No, I can see his point. I mean, for like the fans, a new book was a massive deal because it would be loads of new lore, loads of new models, and new rules.
And
So
also,
you'd be satisfying everyone there.
not only that, but also when the new book came out, you knew these are my rules, these are my points for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
Yeah.
when the book comes out, probably an update coming within 3 weeks. It's going to totally change all the points in there anyway. So everything in the book is suddenly out of date immediately now, before the next book's even out. There's so many frequent updates. I'd compare that to the way Kings of War works, for example, where they have all the factions and all the points and all the rules combined within one book. They don't have army books, so obviously GW wouldn't like that business. And then every year there's the big update they come out with where they adjust the points and rules for everything at once. And then that's what you've got to play with for the year. Unless there's any really dramatic things show up and then they can just FAQ it. Mm-hmm. But in general, once you get that book, that's everything you're working with for the year. You know what the playing field looks like. Not shifting under your feet by the book.
Yeah. Well, what's your prediction for Chaos then? I'm saying Khorne. What are you saying?
Beasts of Chaos would be nice. We've had all the Chaos Gods recently, haven't we?
Yeah, you've had a Nurgle, you've had a Slaanesh, but I wouldn't be surprised if they brought a new Slaanesh one out, actually, because a lot of people don't like it. They think Slaanesh is too weak, or at least the Hedonites of Slaaneshes.
I think it could be almost any of them, to be fair, because by the time this comes out, it'll be a good few months from now. So that'll have been long enough in GW. Be almost anything. But I would like it to be Beasts of Chaos. That would be.
I can say it's definitely not. It's definitely not Nurgle because that's literally just come out.
Well, so, anything but Nurgle. Order Battle Tome.
Oh, now this is exciting, because we can rule out. We can rule out 3 already. We can rule out Daughters of Cain. Can rule out the Deepkin, and you can rule out the Fire Slayers. So
and Stormcast.
It's either, fingers crossed, it ain't another Stormcast. If it is, it's just going to be uproar on the internet. So,
Russell predicts Sylvaneth.
Yeah. Well, this would be Sylvaneth's 3rd book, and the 2nd book really didn't satisfy anyone. So, well, yeah, it could be Sylvaneth. Wouldn't it be good if it's Sylvaneth, but if Sylvaneth have reunited with the Wood Elves? That would be kind of great. Yeah, so it could be Sylvaneth. I think it's. God, I don't know. I was going to say Cities of Sigmar, but fans of Cities of Sigmar seem to love their book. So that's been a big hit. Maybe that's why they haven't released any more. What are we missing out? We're missing out any?
Well, we don't know if it's going to be a totally new faction.
Lizardmen?
When did the old Seraphon last get a book?
Well, this would be Seraphon's 3rd book. They had the 1st book. Seraphon did. So if that was 2014, 2015, 6 years. That's 1 book every 3 years. Possible. It could be Seraphon.
Could well be. Well, it's just wild speculation at this point. Obviously, we don't have the. So
there's no timeline there, though.
There is a bit of a timeline here. So we've got these 2 for the winter. Spring, we've got Nighthorns and Daughters of Cain. Summer, we've got the other 2. So summer could, of course, end up being like late August. So it could still be quite a way off. But there you go.
Well, if it's late spring, there's still a chance that Daughters of Cain could have new units.
But I would like to plead with GW. Change their approach with these books slightly. Because as we've been discussing, the rules updates are coming out frequently. So you can't just release these books based on rules. I don't think you should be selling books just so people can get the unique code and get the cool new rules on their phone. I don't think that's a good reason to buy a book. A good way to market a book maybe be if you're going to release a couple of new units with it, you can actually expand the fluff a bit there. You've got new things to talk about. Talking about dwarves again from back in the day.
Yeah.
Of course, they introduced iron drakes, which were a really
Yeah.
interesting unit. There was some nice juicy fluff in there on those. There were new named characters.
Yeah, gyro bomber as well. I mean, what about this for a shot in the dark for Order Kernothi Hunters? What about that? You think? No, they're kind of wood elfy creatures of the forest have sort of been done.
Can't
I'm
sell a
going to
book
say
on
this. I'm
rules
going to
now.
say it's going to be boring. It's going to be Seraphon.
Can't sell a book on rules. Sell it on new, exciting facts. Not my.
There was one dwarf book, Andy. I think it was 7th edition, and the whole lore was basically set in a dwarven tavern where one of the Longbeards is like basically grumbling and telling stories, and that was the whole sort of backdrop to the book. Whereas this old Longbeard is like telling stories of these different events that happened. It's quite a nice way of doing it, and of course the Bretonian 8th edition book was really cool. Because it was all set amongst the sort of fable around King Arthur and stuff, so or Gilles de Breton. There you are. What's this then? Is this a new corn model? Well, there you go.
Well, look
It's
at
going to be
this.
corn, isn't it?
It's a demon. Habanda, the greater demon who nearly killed Sanguinius twice. Well, I'll assume that means that it's an entity.
Well, you could word
Okay.
that in two ways. You could be he failed to kill Sanguinius, but they've put nearly killed. Like nearly killed sounds better than failed to kill. It's just a play with words, isn't it?
But it looks very flaily, fighty. However, I want to see some Saturday pre-orders. Let's see what. Lots of 40k stuff. Lots of Eldar.
Yeah, boring.
They do look cool, but
I don't think Eldar look cool, man. I
Don't
think the
you?
Harlequins look cool. Dark Eldar look great, but the actual Eldar look really boring to me.
I don't know. I think Eldar. I always have the thought.
Well, I like seeing real faces, and the helmets are just. Nah.
Look how much that costs. £125 if you want the Eldritch box.
Look like you get a lot for 125 quid, does it?
Yeah, stuff. No, it doesn't actually. Yeah, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm not seeing the value in that box to be.
do you know what? I have to admit, Andy, I'm getting into. I know there's a lot of Kings of War fans in here. I got quite into 40k lore. It's so huge and it's like never ending, and it'll be almost impossible to kill the lore like they did with fantasy. It's
You would think that would be fun. Can you imagine the reaction from the community if the 40k universe exploded and was replaced with something? I think GWHQ would actually be burnt to the ground by angry fans.
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah, it's
armies being
possible.
burnt, it would actually be. Now, before we move on, you actually have $1 million idea that was submitted to me earlier today by my significant other, Susie, who pitched this as $1 million idea for Remington Industries.
Yeah.
See what you think of it. It's kind of like a Dragon's Den type situation. Does
Love it.
Remington see potential in this idea? So I'll lay it out for you the way it was described to me. So it's an attachment for a vacuum cleaner that removes creases from clothing. So
But when it suck up the clothes.
Well, this is the clever part. So you would hang up a t-shirt, for example, that's all wrinkly, and you would put this attachment on the end, and there's something on it that prevents the clothing from being like bundled or sucked into the tube. but the suction that it allows through just flattens it out and removes the creases and run it over the whole thing slowly. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I like it. Yeah, I like it. What's it called?
I don't know if she has a name for it yet. Does it have the Remington stamp of approval, though?
I think we should definitely get that into our testing workshop. Yeah.
Can you think of any
Get it-
application for that in the miniature wargaming realm, the hobby realm?
You could hoover up your painting desk. But I imagine a lot of hobbyists have really messy desks, don't they?
Or you could
Just
straighten out the wrinkles on the paper over the wet palette.
What about a hobby beard cleaner? About that, where that it's got a different attachment on the end, and it sucks out all the bits of food that have been trapped in your beard and shapes it. The Flotox, I love that. Major Threat Miniatures comes with the hammer. Flotox by Remington Industries. I like it. Yeah, many applications, Andy. You know, drying hair, sucking the water out of your hair, and giving you a sort of a, Homer Simpson's wife sort of haircut.
Speaking of interesting, next week, just decided we're going to bring out the final episode of season 3 of The Forest of Rem, which has been on a bit of a hiatus for a while.
Okay.
So it's going to be back next week for the finale. So anyone who forgotten what happened, you've got time to go back to those episodes. But as far as I can remember, I should remember it all, Remington was currently on his way trying to get to the Realm Gate to reach his evil domain that had been overrun with the Stormcast. I think you were accompanied by a wyvern, a gargant, and an annoying little boy.
Yeah, okay. That'll be fun. That will be fun.
Yeah, so bring your dice next week because see the conclusion whether this Remington is going to remain side of evil like all the Remingtons that came before him, or could he be swayed? Could he be turned to the light?
The chat's going mental. Major Threat Miniatures with the Flotox. Let's get a picture in the Andy and Rem Discord that we can then share with the community next week. Thomas Hartman has been writing his own lyrics to The Forest of Rem. So, yeah, get those lyrics up, and I might even sing them. And Marge Simpson uses Flotox.
Well, yeah. I think that's about it for this week, unless you've got any other picks. Loot?
No, I mean, yeah, I just basically need to start painting again, and the magic will return.
I've actually got some shelves above the PC here. I don't think you can actually see them. You can see a bit of shelf just there, I think. So I can have more painting projects surrounding me now. And because the massive airship is going to be quite an ordeal to get through that, and I have less painting time, I'm going to start off, I'm going to ease myself back into painting by working on some smaller things. So I'm thinking I might do some of my Kings of War Night Stalkers first, because the 4 units that I've already got for that army have been waiting for over a year on their own. I haven't been using a game yet. Might
Andy,
a usable faction there.
Do you feel like you can be competitive with your night
Stalkers.
terrors?
I haven't
Night
even looked at the
Stalkers.
rules closely enough for them. I just think they look cool. But generally, I think I've got a pretty good idea to do with them. Their particular trick in Kings of War is that it's more difficult to shoot them. Faction, because they're all stealthy. However, their own heroes don't inspire their own troops. You actually leech inspiration from enemy heroes, basically.
So
it's an interesting balance, because when you're far away and you're being shot at, harder for them to hit you. When you're close up, your troops become more inspired as they're like feeding on the mind and the soul of the opponent's heroes. They have some interesting tricks. Fun to try them out when I've actually... I'm going to a Kings of War tournament this weekend, actually.
Wow.
And
Whereabouts?
this one is in around Birmingham somewhere. And this one, it'll be the first time ever that I've taken an army that consists of Abyssal Dwarves with Goblin allies. Wild and controversial, but people have to wait until either Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, here's one for you. That Chaos book, what if it was Chaos Dwarves?
I could get behind that. How
Yeah.
about if it was Chaos Dwarves and then the order book was some kind of happy order?
Yeah.
A
that'd be great.
dwarf off.
They'd need more dwarf units though, wouldn't they really? Exclusively new one.
Yes.
All right, well.
They would have to
lots
actually
to
release
ponder
some
on.
new units, not just a single hero. I know that's wild.
So, we've had 17 people watch this show, and they're still watching all the way through.
Because we
So
provide a non-stop source of seriously succulent.
Fantastic. Give us a like. Thanks, guys. And then, supposedly that shares this video to other people that may like this sort of stuff.
Yes, don't forget to like the video, obviously. Don't forget to subscribe. You could even subscribe to Remington's channel if you're so inclined and you want occasional video. And give a personal thanks to all the patrons now, as they keep this channel afloat during these dark, turbulent times and allow us to act as a lighthouse, a beacon of hobby fulfillment to guide you away from the rocks of disappointment towards those golden shores. So special thanks to Raccoon, Kevin, David, Cedar, Kim, John, Simon, Nippleless, Brad and Guy. All of you, very appreciated. Don't forget to check out all the other links in the description as well. There's a code for a free chicken if you make an order with Bad Squiddo, and of course you should because it's his birthday this week. So don't forget to put in any birthday messages with your orders along with your chicken code this week. And other than that, Mr. Remington, would you like to say farewell to the masses?
Farewell to the masses.
And all that remains to be said is good night out there, whatever you are.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to love.